What happened was I went for an annual physical. I go every single year for an annual physical. And as I attended my annual physical, I said to my doctor, I said, "You're going to draw blood for me. Is there any chance that you can test my blood for the corona antibody?" And he said, "Why?" I said, "Remember how sick I was back in November? It just wasn't right. It was not the flu. I know it wasn't the flu. It certainly wasn't my allergies or my sinus infections." And I said, "Then can you please test for it?" Him and I were just chatting about a couple different things. And a few minutes later, his head looked down, and I saw his eyes almost came out of his head. And he looked at me, and he looked back at it, and he looked at me, and he looked back at it. He goes, "You're positive. You have the antibody." And I said, "I knew it. I knew it." He said, "But the timeline doesn't work." I said, "Whose timeline doesn't work? You can't tell me that I wasn't sick." I've been very clear that I tested positive for coronavirus, and I've been an advocate for corona antibody testing. And I've also been very clear that it is my suspicion, it is my sincere belief that it was absolutely in November and not in January or February. I've also received dozens and dozens of emails and probably hundreds of social media comments of people sharing my story and sharing their own stories with me, thanking me for coming forward, because we were overrun from what I'm told in November and December with people very, very sick that went, tested negative for flu A, tested negative for flu B, tested negative for strep, that were going repeatedly to their doctors in November and December, and that were told that they don't have a flu, they just have bronchitis, they just have, a bad cough, or it's a bad cold. And I think that we just weren't expecting it then, so therefore the doctors didn't know what to call it or what to expect. I by no means, in saying that I'm a doctor and saying that I have proof positive, but it's very, very, in my opinion, it's extremely likely, based upon my own evidence, based upon my symptoms, based upon my timeline, and based upon the hundreds of other people who also believed they were very, very ill at that time period.